CaterCare is a private company. Catering is core to what we do. We do healthcare, aged care, canteen services. Just by covering those number of industries and services, and the fact that our staff are actually working in other people's businesses, how do we get a common culture across our business and get a consistent message and approach and philosophy that we needed to have?
The people that work for us are really driven to do a good job and to please the customer. So for us, from a safety perspective, what it means is that we've had to understand that the culture is that they will put other people first.
In a typical day at work, we do have significant risks. Manual handling risks, slips, trips and falls. Being a lot of kitchen-based work, there's cuts and burns and abrasions.
You take examples from different departments, you look at the kitchen hand utilities that work in the kitchen. Obviously it's a lot more upper limb intensive, they're using a lot more of their wrists and their forearms and their shoulders as part of the nature of the work they do. With comparison to, say, mine site cleaning, it's a bit more of a robust role, more dynamic in terms of there's a lot more force put on the trunk, so you see a lot more lumbar injuries and things like that.
IPaM stands for the Injury Prevention and Management Program. So we work with businesses across Queensland to help them improve the way that they're managing safety. It's one of the ways to help an organisation or a company get on the front foot with safety so they can identify where some of their problem areas might be, and then they can target those areas more specifically. If there's an incident at a workplace, it can have a really profound effect on the workplace itself. It can impact morale and it can just have that flow-on negative effect into the workplace.
It was at the same time that IPaM came to us as when we as a business were looking to do something differently. In its initial phase, it was brought to us as a response to our premium performance. What was being experienced in the business was an increase in cost that was associated with safety. It then became very clear to us if we were to continue our success, we had to be successful in actually managing and reducing the costs that was associated with safety-related events. And it wasn't that the business was not concerned about its people, but it hadn't joined the dots.
When I started with CaterCare, as an organisation, we had already embarked on working with IPaM. To me, the effect was that the organisation was more focused on safety and more, open and willing to try different things. One of the changes we made was to create a dedicated care services team. That team is responsible for supporting our people anytime that their health or well-being is affected.
Our initial focus is to provide support for employees across the business to maintain capacity for work, and also provide support for them in terms of how to best manage their health and well-being and being able to return to work. Also provide support to the management from an organisational perspective, maintain the capacity for work and provide support to their employees as well.
If we didn't have the care services team, workplace injuries and workplace safety would be immense. They do a great work for us in managing that.
So one of the big changes for us is to change the language that we use. Studies show that people are more likely to change their behaviours if working towards positive outcomes. We talk about work capacity management, and the focus of the conversation is very much about what capacity do you have and how can we work with you to help maintain that capacity and regain it to 100%. If an employee reports an incident, we actually want to know about these things. We want to know when things don't go so well so that we can understand why and then work with them to come up with solutions to better support them to be successful in doing their job.
Allowing them more buy-in through flexibility and not too many overarching safety procedures, so to speak. I find that it helps them sort of grow within the business rather than limit them.
They've really made that shift from being a reactive injury management project through to being now quite a proactive work capacity project. So they're really focusing on what workers can do, how they best can support them to keep them at work, and that's proving to be really, really successful.
When we speak about the financial benefits of doing this, you can often fall into the trap of just looking at what's my premium rate. But you have to look at all the other impacts that you get. If we're getting much better retention of our people, That has significant financial impacts just on the cost of turnover, cost of training, retaining knowledge within the business. There's a whole range of other things. When we originally start these processes, I would say there's a lot of pushback. But if you do it in partnership and trust, that changes the whole relationship.
Every person who's working in our business has the right to work safely and happily within their job, whether they're a catering assistant or a site manager or a estate manager.
This program is really about working collaboratively with businesses to find out what's going to work well for them, getting to know their business, finding out where their opportunities for improvement are, and really working with them to improve the way they're managing safety and injuries.
The biggest thing you can do is think of people as a solution and build trust rather than distrust.